Hey, welcome back to Cool Classics. Today we're going to talk about how much money Dawn Wells was paid to play Mary Ann on Gilligan's Island. Along with the rest of the cast, what we can figure out, there's a lot of information here. It covers everything from how much your salary was, to the merchandise, royalties, and etc. So last week when Dawn Wells passed away, I watched a couple old interviews with her from the 90s, and I read a couple articles too. And in it she talks about not just her pay, but the stigma attached around the pay. This is why the people in Hollywood from the older days don't like to talk about how much they earned, because nowadays all you hear about is how much do people, Friends and Big Bang Theory and Seinfeld, they were all getting millions of dollars an episode, and it can make these people feel inferior and embarrassed of their pay, basically. So I took some notes from the interviews and articles, and here's what she said about her pay. She said that when she first started on there, she believes she was the lowest paid actor on the show. She said that she received $700 per week. Now notice how she said per week. Does that mean per week for a whole year, or just per week while you're making the episodes? And she didn't say per episode either. So if you made 12 episodes, is that 12 checks? Or did it take 20 weeks to make 12 episodes? I don't really know, but later on she kind of hints around to that too. She said that she believes that two other characters were paid $750 per week, and that Tina Louise, who played Ginger, and Jim Backus, who played Thurston Howell, both got paid even more than that. So if Dawn was paid $700 per week in 1964, that would be equal to $5,800 per week in 2021. Which is good money, but you're not going to be able to live your whole life on it. Now eventually the whole cast got a raise, and she went from $700 to $1,000, which is a 42% increase. So those that were making $750 went just below $1,100 per week. Now let's just assume that happened in their second season. That would mean that $1,000 per week was equal to $8,200 per week in 2021. Now Dawn said eventually the entire cast got a second raise. She went from making $1,000 per week to $2,000 per week, which is a 100% increase. And in 2021 would be equal to $14,900 per week. But remember, we're talking about per week here, and they didn't work every week throughout the year. Dawn said that her totals for each year, it averaged out to about $50,000 is what she earned per season when it was all said and done. So what about her royalties from the merchandise and the residuals from the reruns? Well, she said that she received none, and as far as she knows, nobody else on the cast received anything either. Not just for the merchandise, but the royalties from the reruns, there wasn't any. Back then, the contract did say that you got a certain amount of money for the first 5 times an episode was reran. And then after that, it stopped. She said, now remember, some of these episodes were reran tens of thousands of times throughout the years, throughout the world. And Dawn said that is where all of the big money is made. If you don't get residuals from the reruns, then you better keep working, because Sherwood Schwartz, that owns the entire Gilligan's Island name and brand and everything, has received over $90 million in 40 years from the residuals from the reruns. Now, backing up her claims in an interview that I read with Russell Johnson, who played the professor on the show, he claims that none of the cast members that he knows of got any merchandise royalties or residuals from the reruns. And he also said that Sherwood Schwartz receives a staggering sum of money. So no, she didn't make $1 million during her time on the show. In fact, that's one of the reasons why a lot of these older actors are very hesitant to let people know how much they got paid, because everybody knows them. They've been watching them in reruns, seeing the merchandise. It's been going on for 40, 50, 60 years sometimes. And you just assume that they got paid good back then. And when you find it out, it kind of disheartens the fans too, and they're like, man, that's just not fair. Now in this interview, Dawn also mentioned something else. She said that after the show ended, she started receiving even more fan mail than before for a while. Everybody was like concerned how they're gonna keep up with her. What is she gonna do? Will this fan club still be open? And she was like, I was already paying a lady to sort everything out for me. They came in, and then I would go in and I'd sign the pictures and we'd mail them back to everybody. And she said that I just continued it on, and people would send stuff to her, and they'd be like, could you autograph this for me? And I bought this, and I've been holding on to it for 10 years or 20 years. And she goes, I'd just sign it and pay for the shipping back. And she goes, eventually it got to where this was hundreds of dollars a week I was spending printing the pictures, mailing them back, mailing people back their packages, and paying this lady to help me. And she goes, I did it all for free. She said that she continued to do that for decades. But as work slowed down for her and things got a little more tight financially, she was going to have to go ahead and start charging. Although everybody else in the industry was already charging for this type of service, she felt really bad about doing it. It was one of the last things she did. And she said it wasn't about the money. It was just about to be able to recoup what I was spending on doing it, paying for the lady to help and the postage and everything. She said she could earn about $30,000 a year doing this through the mail signings. Another way that she said the older actors generate income is through guest appearances. So you might show up at a Comic-Con, a baseball card show, a car show, whatever is related to your character, and wherever they'll book you. You can get a couple $1,000s, she said, per event, depending on your celebrity status. It's usually at least $2,000 plus expenses towards your hotel and airfare. She goes, but you're going to be there the whole weekend, and it's not an easy gig to pull off consistently throughout the year. She goes, you'd have to do 50 events to get $100,000. And she goes, that means you're going to be gone every weekend somewhere else. And not only that, but there's expense and time in this. You're going to have to actively pursue these events and try and find places that are going to pay you to show up and book them and schedule it. And you're going to have to be on it. And she goes, the older you get, the harder that gets. And it's just a lot of work. Keeping all this in mind, take a look back to 2018 when Dawn got very sick. She was in the hospital a long time. The bills were rolling in. She fell behind on her taxes, a lot of stuff at her house she couldn't keep up with. She was out of work for a while. Knowing the financial situation that she was in at the time, her longtime hairdresser created a GoFundMe campaign in Dawn's name. When Dawn found out, she told her friend, "Dear, I'm not dead broke. I can handle this. All I need to do is get healthy and I can get a job and go back to work." But by then, the campaign had already picked up speed. 5,200 people had donated a total of $194,000. When Dawn found out, she issued a statement. She said, "Wow, I'm amazed at all the kindness and affection I have received from the current outpouring in regards to the GoFundMe page. A dear friend of mine with a big heart was trying to help me with some common issues we all understand and some of us must face. The page was created with the love and emotion like someone protecting their child. I want everyone to know that I really thought I was taking all the proper steps to ensure my golden years. Now here I am with no family, no husband, no kids, and no money. I'm grateful that God has given me so many friends and fans who care, or it would all be too overwhelming. I'm grateful to any of my fans who are willing to offer support. However, please know that my outlook is still positive, and I look forward to seeing you all in my travels." The money was placed into a trust fund that was open to the public, so everyone could see exactly how the funds were being used. Most of it was used to pay off medical bills and tax liabilities. After that, the rest was used to move her into an assisted living community. This really tells a lot about her character, just like how she didn't want to charge her fans for autographs and spend her own money making sure they got all their packages. It really says a lot about her. She wanted to do things on her own, self-sufficient. She wanted to work right to the end. If you like this type of video, I'm about to upload one on the salaries of the original Batman TV series, so you can compare the two shows. I also have a video about the time that Bob Denver, who played Gilligan, stood up for Mary Ann on the set to Sherwood Schwartz. Both those cards will be right up above. Please click them on. Maybe think about subscribing.